You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Seventh Sanctum with Kerry Ann, only on Parasearch UK Radio.
Good evening and welcome. I am Kerry Ann and this is Seventh Sanctum on Parasearch UK Radio, and I am being joined this evening with my lovely co-host who's fast becoming a regular on my show, Kerry Greenaway. You okay, Kerry?
Hello, good evening.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very excited tonight.
I know. I am as well. I mean, we're very, very lucky and fortunate to be able to have Barri Ghai join us this evening. Thank you so much, Barri, for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. I've got lots and lots of questions, and so's Kerry. But before we go into what you have coming up and what you have planned, I would love to know a little bit about yourself and a little bit of your journey of how you managed to find yourself in the wonderful world of the paranormal. I'd like to know your first ever experience, please, if that's okay.
Wow, do you know what? I've had so many experiences as a child, and I think that's the thing that started this journey for me. Probably from the age of about 5, I saw what I consider to be an apparition of a man. And I've also had that, growing up, having that sense that someone's always there, hearing my name being called, being physically touched. And it almost became normal to some extent. And I would ask questions and I'd speak to my parents about it. My mum was very spiritual, so she kind of got the ball rolling a little bit, which was great because I had books and I had resources available to me to read and to learn about, and it kind of fueled my passion a bit more. But, I mean, the most notable experience, I had so many growing up as a kid, I don't even know where to start. One of the scariest things, I suppose, that's ever happened to me, I was around 10 years old, and I went away on holiday with the school, and a friend of mine who was a little bit older, he was very spiritual, and so was his mum, and he brought with him a homemade Ouija board. Now, this is something I don't condone. I don't use them in my investigations now. But back then, I had no knowledge and no understanding of the use of it or the application of it or the potential dangers to some extent. And we went away and did this, played this game. And the planchette was moving. And we, it was spelling out names and words. And it was all very frightening but exciting at the same time. But I thought nothing of it until I ventured back home after the holiday had ended. And from that point onwards, whatever I had conjured and spoken to in spirit had followed me home. And it portrayed itself as a small boy, as a boy of around 7, 8 years old in Victorian clothing. But it wasn't a boy. This was a disguise. This was its kind of way of tricking me into believing that it was something that was friendly, something that I could communicate with. And it caused problems in my house. So I grew up in a haunted house. So I had so many experiences with footsteps, lights turning on and off, bathroom taps turning on and off, me being physically assaulted at one point as well. And when I was around 15 years of age, I remember I've been hearing my name whispered in my ear constantly, to the point where it terrified me. And I think I kind of summoned up my inner strength and I said, I've had enough. You need to show yourself to me. Let's do this. I studied in the martial arts since I was 8 years old. And I felt, I was a black belt in karate, and I thought, I can do this. You know, I'm going to have it out with whatever's there. I've had enough of this. And I stood in my bedroom on a sunny day in July, and and no one else was in the house, and I kind of shouted out, "Come on, show yourself. I've had enough. Let's do this." And as you can imagine, nothing happened. Right? But nothing happened for a moment. So I sat on my bed with my hands clasping my face, and I was upset. I was a bit, I was upset. I don't think I was crying, but I was scared at the same time. And I got the sense that something was there in the room with me. You know, when you kind of feel that prickling sensation. I don't remember that there was any electrical discharge or any smells or anything like that, or even a temperature change. But I remember looking up at my doorway and seeing what I can describe as a black mist, like a shadow person forming in the doorway. I stood up off my bed. I took one step towards it, and I was thrown back on my bed. But it didn't move. Whatever it was didn't move towards me. There was a force that lifted me off my feet and threw me back on my bed. And that scared the hell out of me. But I ran out of the house. I didn't go back in till the end of the day. And after that incident, things quietened down. It was almost like I had to confront my own fear and confront whatever this was and say, I'm not scared of you, but, I need to see you. I need to know what's going on. And it was that point onwards that...
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, no. It always happens on a cliffhanger.
So spirits were... Sorry?
Are you there? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm still there.
Second. Okay, carry on.
What happened?
You dropped
You
out.
disappeared.
What was I saying?
We was at a pivotal point.
Yeah,
So
when
you
you
had to face
confronted
your
your fear.
Okay, so I stood up. I saw this this black apparition that was forming in the doorway, and as I stood up and took a step towards it, I got forcefully thrown back on my bed. I remember feeling I was absolutely terrified, but within moments it wasn't there, and I ran out of the house and I stayed out for the whole day. But after that, it quietened down. The activity in the home seemed to diminish, and I wasn't hearing my name being whispered. But it fueled my passion further, and I decided that I want to learn more, I want to read more, I want to understand what's going on and what is it that I've experienced that other people haven't. And it was from that point onwards in my teenage years that I would experience other apparitions and other ghostly phenomena in other locations across the world. So it kind of spiraled up from there.
It's really interesting. I mean, I agree with you when you spoke about the Ouija board and stuff like that. I agree with that being a tool that's used, that's quite ignorantly used sometimes. But what an experience that can come from it. It does show you that it has a consequence sometimes. Toying with something like that when you don't know what it can be capable of.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think the difficulty is here that I'm one of these people, I sit on the fence with it. I think it's a tool that can be used properly by someone who understands it and can control it. And you need someone who's spiritually connected in order to kind of facilitate it for you. But when you're a child and you're very, very susceptible, open, naive and vulnerable, that's when spirits will latch themselves onto you. And it didn't follow my friend. It followed me. He had no experiences afterwards. It was simply a game. And I had no knowledge of what I'd done and the dangers that I'd kind of produced and presented to myself and my family.
That is the danger of the Ouija being sold as a child's toy, which we see out and about, don't we? It is, and it does depend on your spiritual awareness. I mean, children do tend to be more spiritually aware, and then they lose that as they sort of hit puberty and go through that growth period themselves, and then you come back into the paranormal if that's your pathway, or whatever spiritual path you decide to take, and then you become more aware and know how to use these tools in a better way.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
When I was about 19 years of age, I was at university, and it was my second or third year of uni, I think, can't remember. And it was about 2 a.m. And I remember we were sharing an old Victorian house up north, and there was 8 bedrooms. It was beautiful. It'd all been converted into bedrooms as they do. And I had, my bedroom was on the ground floor, and it was probably what used to be the kitchen dining room area of the building to the back of the house. I got into bed, 2 a.m., turned off my lamp, and I remember there's light streaming from the hallway underneath my door, and it's a huge room with huge ceilings, and I kind of put the cover over as you do, and
Hello?
From face and went, "What the hell? What do you want?" And there was a little girl stood by my bed, and I could see everything. I could see the colour of her hair, her face, her eye colour, her features, but she was still transparent, like it was a holographic effect. So I could see her. She was made of light. I instinctively knew straight away, within a millisecond, that it was a ghost. It was an apparition, and I jumped back off my, onto my bed. I had a double bed, so I kind of shot back, and as I did, I kicked out. Just my martial arts skills came back into play, and I kind of kicked out, and I remember watching her dissipate. So she didn't disappear; she dissolved into the room, because I could still see the radiator behind her. I could see the wall behind her. It was interesting. It was fine. It was such a quick experience, but I knew what I'd seen, and I knew that she was there. I remember running up the stairs and jumping into bed with my flatmate Mark, and he said, "What the hell are you doing, Baz?" And I said, "Don't ask any questions. I'm just getting into bed with you now." And we hadn't been drinking. This was uni days, and we hadn't been drinking or any of that night. But that night in particular. But it was an experience that stuck with me, and it was the reason why I'm saying this is because when I graduated and I moved back down to London, I met my wife, my now wife, and we were in bed and woke up together at the same time around 3 a.m. And I looked at her and she looked at me and she said, "Why are you awake?" I said, "I don't know. Why are you awake?" She goes, "I don't know." And it was all quiet. The room, everything's dark and it was nice and quiet. And I said, "Oh, okay, well, good night." And I gave her a little peck on the lips and said good night. And as we both put our heads back down on the pillow, between our heads, we heard a girl's voice say, "Good night." And it was as clear and as loud as that. And we both shot up thinking, what the hell did we just hear or experience? And I searched my room, I searched the hallway, I even went outside, and I couldn't find any trace of a young girl. But, further to that story, this young apparition, this female apparition, was experienced by my sister, who was at university around the same time as me, but 230 miles away. So it was a spirit that's connected to myself and my sister, and we don't know where she came from or why we've seen her or why we've experienced her. Interestingly, my sister's flatmate told me the story that I experienced in up north in Newcastle, and she'd experienced the same thing. She'd been physically shook awake in her bed down in Portsmouth, this was, and experienced the same apparition I'd seen. So it's strange, and to this day I wish that I could maybe see her again. I haven't. I've tried. I've opened myself up and I've said, if you can still hear me, if you can still see me, come back, tell me who you are. I want to know your name. What do you need from me? How can I help you? But it's not happened again. But it really did stay with me, and it struck a chord to say that, do you know what? Spirits are real, and your search is only just beginning. And that's really the kind of thing that the catalyst that kick-started me to form my own society and to do what I do.
Oh, that's from that point. I mean, forming your own society, that's the amazing thing that you've done. So could you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, back in, I think it was 2005, I after being on back in the day when there were forums, internet forums, chat rooms, I was a member of so many different chat rooms and other society forums, discussing paranormal activity with like-minded people, trying to learn more and hear about other people's experiences. And I was I trained a little bit in developing HTML websites and coding, and I thought, well, I'm going to put my own team page together. I mean, my own website, which actually started off at the end of 2005, early 2006, and I developed it as just a few pages to showcase photographs and to give explanations as to hauntings, famous hauntings and cases. And it was just that, really. It was just a landing page for people that were interested in the paranormal. And it was the Ghost Finder Paranormal Society. I mean, it was born from that. I think the web address is ghostfinder.co.uk, but I developed that because other people that I'd met in online across the world decided that they wanted to be part of this society. So it just kind of evolved organically from that. And I met like-minded people, and some of them were fairly local to me, some weren't, but we kind of got together. Across the whole of the UK, we got together and started to do our own paranormal investigations, as many people do now. They kind of go out as a group of friends, with a little bit of kit and take photographs, go to creepy places and see whether or not they can capture any anomalous phenomena. And we did that, and we were so lucky that we were able to capture EVP phenomena. We were able to capture things on camera and video and have personal experiences that we could share together. And then we published these things. We wrote little reports, and put them on the website. And the website just became from 1 or 2 pages to 20, 30 pages of information. And it kind of spiraled out of control, really. So the society grew, and it was exponential, really. It wasn't something I had any control over. It became what was originally a hobby and an interest and a passion became more of a job, became more of a profession, and a bit more of something that I just wanted to take further.
So what was your next steps for you? How did you take that further? I mean, we will talk a little bit later about your fantastic journey at the moment, which is absolutely amazing. But what was your next steps after that?
Well, I think probably, about 2010, I got a random phone call, and it was from a producer for Living TV. And he said, listen, we're making a new TV show, paranormal show. And this is after Most Haunted have been on air for years and years, kind of monopolising the UK paranormal scene. And he said, we want to do a live TV show, and we were wondering if you're interested in being part of that. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, I've never thought about that before. That's brilliant. And we went for auditions, myself and my members of my team, and we had to audition. They cast only 2 groups out of hundreds that they'd seen, and we got picked. I got the call back in, I think it was probably late June or July that year, saying we want you to do this live TV show on Living TV in October for Halloween, and yeah, that's it, you're part of it. So we started to work doing that. I was called out for production meetings and rehearsals. I know it's funny, how do you rehearse live TV? Well, you don't. It was kind of rehearsing how we'd work together and what they'd expect and what we'd do on screen. And the producer I was working with had worked on Most Haunted, and the executive producer as well. So it wasn't a show that was kind of trying to copy the original format of the program, because it's a live telly. This was more, they wanted to do something that had never been seen before. And Film Easy, my best friend and partner in GPS, he was on the team with me alongside Matt Watkins and Laura. And Phil said to me recently, he said, you know what, the reason why that show was never recommissioned and it was kind of a one-off live special was because it was a bit of ahead of its time. It was it was trying to introduce something that had never been seen or done before on TV, and people just weren't ready for it. But I don't know. To be honest with you, it had its flaws. It was a great experience, but it was the start of the media work I do. I mean, from that point, I got phone calls and emails and from newspapers, magazines and radios, doing interviews every single month for the last 6-7 years. And it's not something that I do as a main job, though. I mean, people consider me to be, I'm a professional paranormal investigator, but I don't do this full time. To do it full time, you need to be Zach. You need to be running your 14th season on Ghost Adventures and doing it, in the media every single day. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. I mean, I've done lots of TV work over the years, but they are all short-lived. You do live TV for 3 or 4 days or 5 days, like I did recently. But then, you wait for something else to kind of crop up. But my journey hasn't changed what I do and why I do it. It's simply just evolved it slightly, and it's a means to an end. I can now afford to run the team the way I want to do it, buy the kit we need, and to develop new ideas and new technologies and meet new fantastic people in the field that are like-minded and passionate.
That's really important, isn't it? Because it's those other people that bring new ideas into what you do, and it gives you different perspectives sometimes. And we talk to lots of different people, don't we, Kerry? And we're always blown away by different concepts and ideas and ways to investigate that we probably hadn't thought of before. So it's really interesting to keep talking to people and keep going out and doing what you do, but incorporating other things that you've heard or spoken about with somebody, or it just adds new things to the field all the time.
It does. I mean, I learn from other people. You learn by watching, you learn by listening, you learn by reading. And I am like a sponge. I try and take in everything and absorb everything, and then, develop my own thoughts and ideas, because it's, I suppose, paranormal investigating, it's a science to us, but yet to the scientific community, it's a pseudoscience. It's not, there's no tangible evidence. I was speaking to the wonderful Chris Fleming last night, and he is so insightful and passionate about what he does. He's been doing this for like 17 years now, and he was talking to me, and almost as he was talking, he was filling in some of the blanks that I've had for years, thinking about ITC research, EVPs, and other phenomena, and putting the missing pieces that I've always had into perspective, so I can then formulate new ideas, new concepts. And I think these are things that we want to take forward in our new show.
Yes, I agree. I mean, like Kerry said, when you talk to other people and you see their perspective, it does bring a new light to something that you feel like you've trod the path quite well, and then you see things from different perspectives. That's amazing. It is interesting. You spoke about your position now in regards to your investigating your team. Now, we recently done a show with Carl Hutchison, and we spoke about equipment and the kind of the do's, the don'ts, and the must-haves. So, I think as an investigator, what do you feel is an essential piece of kit?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know that. I think anything that can try and communicate with spirits audibly is fantastic. The voice recorder, your bog standard digital voice recorder, is your best weapon. To call it a weapon, it's not a weapon. Your best tool for trying to receive communication from the other side. So I go down that route wholeheartedly. The spirit box, the SB7, and the digital voice recorder are fantastic. For me, my passion is ITC, instrumental trans communication, and capturing EVPs, and trying to make progress that way. I would say, digital voice recorder, although I like using the REM pod. A lot of people have their kind of doubts about it and say there's flaws, but it's nice. It's a visual aid. It's large enough to see and use and handle. It's quite robust, and it gives you some really good evidence when you're using it properly. In the same way that the K2 meter, when it first got developed, everyone was using it, raved about it, but the K2 has evolved a long, long way now. I no longer use a K2 meter. I prefer to use the MEL meter, which is able to record the information that I need digitally, and the ambient temperature as opposed to a contact surface temperature. A lot of people still make the mistake, unfortunately, of using non-contact laser thermometers. Now, those infrared beams of light will hit an object and only give you a surface temperature reading. It's the same thing you'd use when you're cooking. So when people say that there's a cold spot associated with the manifestation or development of paranormal phenomena in an area, if you use a non-contact laser thermometer, you're simply going to take the temperature of the surface that beam of light has touched. You're not going to be able to take the ambient temperature to say, well, actually, the room itself is 21 degrees, but we've got a cold spot, and now my MEL meter is saying that we've dropped down to 17 degrees Celsius, which is a significant temperature drop in a short space of time. So that's the kind of way we want to work, and that's why the MEL meter is a fantastic bit of kit as well. I mean, other devices do the same thing, but I like to use that one alongside digital voice recorder, REM pod. I also love using the Ovilus. I think the Ovilus is one of my favourite bits of kit. On every TV show I've ever done, I've used an Ovilus 1 up to an Ovilus 5. Each one has its perks and its benefits and its pros and cons. I prefer the Ovilus 3. I've kind of built a bond. And I was just saying to Kerry before we started, Kerry Greenaway, not Kerry Ann, before we started talking live here, that it's important that you have a bond with your kit. And that's not just the technical side of things, like knowing how to use it, but really building a spiritual connection with the piece of kit you're using, such as the voice recorder. My first ever digital voice recorder was a really cheap piece of kit. It was an Olympus something or another, and it was probably about 10, 12 quid on eBay. I had the best results with it. And yet I've gone upgraded, and now use a Tascam, and we've got Zooms and that kind of thing. And I don't get any decent results with it. So that one's going to go back in the bin, and then I'll see if I can just go back to buying a cheap one and seeing whether or not I can build a connection with it that way as well.
Yeah, when we were discussing this earlier, I totally agreed with you. I said I make rosaries, and I have a favourite pair of pliers that I use to make it, and if I can't use that particular pair of pliers, it just doesn't feel like it works properly. And we talked about this in concepts of, like, you know, carpenters have their set of tools and don't like to use other tools and stuff like that. So it is building that bond with your kit.
Yeah,
and also talking to other people about equipment. We have come across other people that have said the same as you. It's really essential that you're intuitive with your kit, and that you do have that connection, so you know what to use and when to use it, rather than just whipping something out because you know. So it is something that's reoccurring that we're hearing quite a lot. Me and Kerry aren't the most aware when it comes to equipment as such. We work more on an energy base level, but we're talking more and more about equipment these days, and that is something that seems to keep reoccurring, that, you know, it is essential that you build that bond with your tools.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I think there's an absolute 100% need for the spiritual side of things. When you're doing any form of paranormal investigation, what are we doing? What is it that we're actually doing? We are trying to communicate with the dead, and that's the dead that we know, our human bodies. Once we have expired, our consciousness evolves and keeps on going. It doesn't die, because we are made of energy, and that's a scientific fact. But energy cannot die. It just transfers from one form to another. You know, you can go from light to heat to kinetic. You know, it doesn't matter. It's an energy that can't die. It changes form. But I believe that the consciousness exists in another dimension, and that's something that ITC, you know, is constantly looking at. So it's important that you have validation from the spiritual side of things as well as the technical side of things. And the more validation that we get, the better for the whole world.
I agree.
So do I. And I've heard that analogy used quite often. Not quite often. I don't go to funerals that often, but I think you actually use that analogy itself. We are energy, and we just transform our you know, our energy base, basically.
Yeah.
You know, so that was quite comforting to the mourners at the funeral. And I know that's a bit morbid. I know I went down a morbid route there. Sorry, but no, it was. I was surprised that Vicar had that perspective.
Yeah, or maybe he's a Scientologist.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was quite nice, though.
No, it is.
Yeah. It is, and also, you know, that's another thing that kind of validates when you actually look at the evidence that we do get when we do our research and we are investigating. Energy never stops. Energy, you know, if you look in terms of water, for example, if you was to put, the only way you could disrupt it is if you was to put a block there. You lift it carries on again. You can't just cut it off, or it doesn't come to a dead stop by itself. We're made of energy. We're constantly, you know, so that just because our physical isn't there anymore doesn't mean that energy stops. That energy does continue, but it's just how that energy is then continuing is what we're looking at the answers, isn't it?
100%. You know, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Always keep that in mind, okay? And science is constantly evolving. 100 years ago, 500 years ago, when electricity wasn't invented, and yet the concept and notion would have had you burnt at the stake as a witch. And now it's part of our everyday life. And in 500 years from now, where will we be? Science will evolve. People will find more. We will have new technology. And I firmly believe that in the near distant future, we will have a way of communicating with the afterlife. And there will be a scientific thread of existence that substantiates that. And we are able to validate it. So, you know, our whole perspective will change. Religion will change. Everything will change, all because of the research that some of the best investigators in this world are doing right now.
I agree. I mean, that is that pivotal point that you, like you said, it will change everyone's mentality. It kind of always makes you worry, though, because how well received that information is going to be, because it will change. Like you said, religion, for example, which is a massive thing, which is why I think that it has taken such a long time for it to be able to go to the forefront, because if you accept that there is life after life, it dismisses so many different beliefs and structures and kind of paths that people have taken. It is that, but again, some, like you said, years and years ago, illiteracy would never have come about, and now I don't even know what I would do without it.
Well, everyone wants their Wi-Fi, don't they?
Yeah, you just take it for granted. It's there like air. Yeah, no, it's quite interesting. And again, some of the ways that people are managing to do this, to be able to gather evidence and to be able to kind of put forth the idea that there is life after life, is really fascinating. Some of the ideas that we've come across from people that we've sat down and spoke with is mind-blowing to us sometimes, but it's understandable, though. The logic is there and it makes sense. So it does show that we are moving forward and more accepting of what's actually happening around us. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you up, but one of my pet hates is the fact that this is considered a pseudoscience. I agree.
Skeptics, we have to deal with them all the time. And it's fine. There are so many skeptics that have changed their beliefs over years. And in fact, there was a few, this is interesting, some ITC experiments that were carried out years and years ago. Some of the spiritual images that were received on TV sets or through radio were those messages from the other side, from the skeptics who didn't believe that this was possible. And yet now they're coming back to communicate with the facilitator, the ITC practitioner, to validate that there is an existence of the consciousness. And whether I use the word consciousness, I believe that can be, interpreted as the soul, the spirit, the ghost, whatever. Mm-hmm. But that consciousness is always there. It's everlasting. And it's just a way of us trying to find that bridge to communicate with them. Imagine that they're standing over the other side of a river and you're shouting, and you can't shout sentences because you're never going to hear it. You kind of have to keep it short and sweet. But we'll find a way of doing that eventually, that connection, and building that bridge where we can get closer and closer and hear more.
Yes, and I just hope that's in our lifetime, because I would love to, be a part of that change and see that come in. Just because I've got a pocket full of I told you so's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
On that note, it's a good time to take a quick little break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
Join Kerry Greenaway and Jay Lynch for the Parasearch UK radio show as they share their paranormal news, views and reviews from the UK and the USA, with the help of guests from both sides of the pond. Will they agree or agree to disagree? Find out every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on Paramania Radio. You're listening to Seventh Sanctum with Kerry Ann, only on Parasearch UK Radio.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned. I'm Kerry Ann. This is Seventh Sanctum, and you're listening to Parasearch UK Radio, and I am being joined this evening with Kerry Greenaway and Barri Ghai. Now, we've spoke a lot about your past experiences. I love hearing about people's journey, because it just it kind of shows me how people got to where they got to, and it's a fascinating journey because everyone's so very different, and I find it quite intriguing. But me and Kerry really, really would love to know about your current experience, your current journey that you're walking in.
Okay, well, it's come a long, long way, and in the last over a decade now. But in October just gone, 2016, I was part of a team of investigators, and we featured live on Celebrity Haunted Hotel. It was shot over 5 nights. Christine Lampard, Frank Lampard's wife, presented the show with Matt Richardson, and it was just brilliant, a really great experience. And we were in Pluckley Village in Kent. It used to have that kind of reputation of being the most haunted village or most haunted place in Britain. But the LV farm that we were doing this live program on, it was great. It had activity. We experienced more stuff off camera than we did on camera. I think that the format of the show needed to have a little bit of tweaking for it, and perhaps the celebrities that they got to stay over the night that we kind of took investigating around the farm, that maybe they could have picked better celebrities. But all in all, it was a brilliant opportunity, a really great show, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they're going to recommission a second one for this Halloween as well. Although that's not, I haven't said that as in it's definitely happening, guys. So it's just one of those things that might be in the pipeline. But more recently than that, I'm about to embark on a new TV series that's going to be aired on Really, which is part of the UK TV channel group, and Really channel, and it will be aired early 2018. The programme itself is called Help My House is Haunted, and it will feature myself, Chris Fleming, he's a medium and a fantastic investigator of over 17 years. He appeared in Dead Famous with Gail Porter in the States, Psychic Kids, and other programs as well. He's also being joined by Sandy Lactar, who's a French actress, author, and paranormal investigator. She comes, with loads of experience as well. And us three are going to be investigating cases around this country, and I'm talking, the most dynamic cases, the ones that these researchers have found and have contacted or been contacted by, and it's all being signed off by the executive producer Zach Bagans himself from Ghost Adventures. So Zach is our boss and has been giving us tips and giving us direction as to what exactly he wants. But this show will be 12 episodes for series 1, and it will air in 2018. With hopefully some longevity there and potential for series 2, 3, 4 and 5, etc. But I'm really looking forward to it. Filming starts the end of May, beginning of June. I think we've got a schedule that's coming up now, and we had a couple of production conference calls. It's a bit difficult logistically, actually, because we kind of got Chris over in Chicago, Sandy in the south of France, and myself in London, and we're trying to talk with people in New York and over here in Britain as well, and Zach in Las Vegas. So there's 12 people on the phone at the same time having chats or via Skype, and getting our information across. But things are coming together, and I'll tell you what, this show's going to see you. Anyone who watches it is going to experience and see things that have never been done before on television across the world ever, using the latest bits of kit and technology being developed by engineers across the world right now, including Bill Chappell, fantastic Bill Chappell, who owns Digital Dowsing. He's supplying us with Paranormal Puck 2 to use and other bits of kit. Gary Galka, he's also involved. And so I'm absolutely chuffed to bits. I think it's been an amazing journey for me, and to be picked out of all the amazing, brilliant paranormal investigators there are in this country, to be chosen to represent our country to do this fantastic international themed show is a brilliant opportunity. I'm so looking forward to it.
Sounds fantastic.
Sounds amazing.
And we're very jealous.
It will be.
I mean, my first question would be, which is really, really, I apologise, because there is some amazing questions that I could ask, But the first one I'm going to go for is, what is Zach actually like? Have you had that communication with him?
Yeah, I met Zach. I met Zach a few years ago. Actually, he called me. Or his production team called me to be just to give a little bit of insight about the Hellfire Caves in England, because he did one of the program episodes a few years ago was on the Hellfire Caves. So I met him there. I met Nick and I met Aaron. They're brilliant guys. The Ghost Adventures crew, fantastic. And Zach is full of energy. He is abundant with it. He's dynamic and passionate. He knows his stuff and he knows exactly what he wants. But more recently, having chatted to him and talked via Twitter and that kind of thing, it's been brilliant. He just knows what he wants. He's a really good producer, as well as a presenter and everything else. I think his vision for this new show is going to be something that is going to change the dynamic of paranormal TV ever. It's going to be it's going to have elements of all the other shows that have gone before it, so that the viewer knows what they're getting, and some. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
That sounds great.
Sounds very great. It does. I mean, I still want to talk about the show you got coming up, but there is something that I want to talk about. Your previous show that you did before, that you spoke about, the live show. Yeah. I watched that, and it was a fascinating show for lots of different reasons. But there is one point that I wanted to ask how you, and I hope it's a relevant question. I hope I'm not, but at one point in the show, you had one of the guests come along and he was actually throwing stones.
Yeah.
Activity. Now, this is something, as a public group, that you are confronted with sometimes. So as that team being put, for the fact that it was live, and for a little while, the guests and team that were involved, they believed that these activities were going on. How did you deal with that?
Well, interestingly, I wasn't in that room at the time. I was back in a holding area, waiting to go into another area with another celebrity. But I know that I think it was Joe and Jolene and Emily that were in there with those two. You could see everything that was happening. The reason why is because we flooded the whole room. It was the barn area, I remember, and we flooded the whole room with infrared. So the viewers at home could see everything, clear as crystal, really good lighting in there, but it was pitch black. When you walked into the barn, you can't see a hand in front of your face, other than the few cracks in the walls where lights coming in from the live lighting rigs outside. So when he did what he did, he was under the impression no one could see him, and he did it because he's a comedian. He was having a laugh. He thought, I'll do this to just get some scares in there and stuff. I mean, it was nothing that we knew about. I had no clue. I was watching it live from the holding area, the green room, and I was thinking, "Oh no, what is he doing? Everyone's going to see this. You're being an absolute muppet." and when it was off air, he got a roasting, and he got a roasting from everyone else. John Thompson told him off, and the producers told him off, and then obviously we got a million phone calls and messages, and it went viral on Twitter, and everyone was complaining about it. And it wasn't, that wasn't the intention of the show. It wasn't not to be like that. It was a serious paranormal investigation. But he said afterwards, his answer was, I was nervous, I was scared, genuinely scared, and I thought I'd lighten the mood and break the silence, by trying to do this, to kind of release some of my anxiety. And I get it. I totally get it. We've had people on public events before doing the same bloody thing. They're throwing stones, or touching people, or scaring people deliberately because they're overcoming their own fears and anxieties. I'm not going to hold it against him. I think he did what he did at the time. He apologised for it, and he apologised on the programme. And I'm sure that no one's going to do that again. But I think, again, it's about choosing the right people to be on a show like that. If it's live television, for one, you need to have open-minded, skeptical or believers, it doesn't matter, open-minded celebrities that come with the intention of enjoying the experience and throwing themselves into it so that they can genuinely experience something that other people don't get the opportunity to do.
Yeah, no, great. And I mean, and there's a moral here. The reason why I brought that to the forefront is because we will have listeners that will be joining us tonight that will may not have ever been on into an investigation or, want to. And, sometimes there might be that urge, but don't do it because it's detrimental to the whole investigation, and you will get caught out because there is always like you said, there was infrared cameras throughout, and was able to see the whole thing unravel, even though he thought that he was under the cover of darkness.
Yeah.
The lesson is, don't do it. Don't do it.
No, exactly. Don't do it. I mean, when we do public events sometimes, especially at the Hellfire Caves, we've got this partnership with them where we host their public events for them, and we use it for our own investigations as well. And in the past, we've had a few people messing around and doing things, and they do get caught. And if I see anything, I spot it straight away, and I say, listen, you're going to spoil it for others. This experience is not to be played with. It's not a joke. We're here to have respect for the spirits that are here and respect for each other. So let's all enjoy it, and let's not spoil it for everyone else. And it's important that people that want to go on, public ghost hunts with these events companies and whatever, that they go knowing that the facilitators aren't there to trick you and to hoax you and to fuel your experience with trickery and fakery, whatever. I've never, ever done it. My credibility and integrity will remain strong as long as I live. My objective is to be, as objective as I can be, and as truthful as I can be in all situations. So, I just think that it's important that listeners, understand that investigators don't go out there to try and, manipulate evidence and to trick the world. But I can't say that for everyone. Unfortunately, there are unscrupulous people out there. There are people that, try to get fame and notoriety by presenting evidence to the world that, has been tampered with. I've seen loads in my time, and it does my head in, but it's not the majority. There are thousands and thousands of paranormal investigators in this country, and they all try their hardest to maintain the integrity of the field we're working in, and they do it brilliantly in most cases. So, let's just keep that up, I think, for everyone. Keep it real, that's the word.
Keep it real, I love that. Hear, hear. I agree with you.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm not sure how... Sorry. Kerry, have you got anything you want to add?
No, I did watch that, and I think it was okay as a piece of entertainment. There were things I think, like you said yourself, could be tweaked to make it better. There's definitely a demand for live paranormal investigations. I mean, there was a huge outcry at the time for Most Haunted to come back and do a live Halloween special, and you definitely filled that gap. So I definitely think if they could get it right, then it would be fantastic. Do you know what I mean? I felt there was a little bit too much entertainment factor based on it, a little bit, but
I'm glad
it was enjoyable.
Said that, yeah, I'm glad you said that. 100%. I tell you what, they try too hard. You don't have to try hard to do a paranormal investigation and spend millions of pounds on celebrities and locations and whatever. And I can tell you that for a fact. Sally Morgan, Britain's leading best psychic, she's wonderful. She's a friend of mine, and invited me and a few of my team over to her house a couple of weeks ago to do an investigation at her house live on Facebook. Yeah. Now, this is something that's just coming up now. People are still, paranormal investigation teams are starting to use Facebook Live and that, and I think it's fantastic. Great use of media there. And we did it. We streamed it live, and over the night, we got in excess of 80,000 viewers, which is a phenomenal amount of viewers, and really good evidence. And when we came back to do the evidence reveal the week after, that evidence reveal, I think, was watched by 60,000-70,000 people. And then it increased over the night because we did an impromptu investigation in the upper bedroom, live on Facebook again. And this time we caught something that everyone else caught as well, live on Facebook. And that was me standing in the top attic bedroom, the guest room. And you see at 24 minutes into this video, a ghostly hand and an arm come out and touch me just above the left knee. And literally a second later, Sally sees an apparition behind me and freaks out. Now, I know she freaks out and she's a psychic and a medium, but it's a shock for anyone to see an apparition manifest itself, and when others don't, regardless of how psychic you are. So we watched back the video footage at the break, and we saw this ghostly hand and arm that other people then saw. And we clipped it and put that back on the Facebook page, and lots and lots of people have seen it. Now, so far, 120,000 people have seen that video. That is almost as many viewers as you get on national television to some Sky channels. Yeah. So, it's a phenomenal number of viewers, and it's something that we're going to be doing again and again. I think we're going to do some more work with Sally in the autumn after she's finished her tours. So we'll be doing other investigations as well. And we might well be doing some public events with her as well, which would be great because I know she's got a lot of fans and a lot of people that really want to see her. And she's a great asset to any ghost hunting team. She's a lovely person as well. Beautiful, beautiful person.
Yeah, she's got a huge fan base, hasn't she, Sally? And she does come across as very, very genuine.
She is, 100%. She's the nicest person you could ever want to meet, honestly. Her husband and her daughter, Fern. And it's one of those things that we didn't realise the impact that live, Facebook video would have. But it's been retweeted and shared and Facebook all over the world now. And there are so many people that have seen it from all over the world, from Canada all the way down to Australia. So it's nice. It gets the message across, doesn't it? And what I'm trying to get by saying this is that you don't need to do a live TV show, 250,000 people watching it that night, but you're doing a live TV show to that standard and that extent and that kind of, input, level of financial input, when you can get just as good results doing a live Facebook video in a location with one famous person. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? It's kind of has that strange contrast, yeah.
No, I do. I completely agree. Like I say, I think they tried too hard. Like you said, they tried too hard. But at the end of the day, it was a huge learning curve, I would imagine, for the production crew on that. And hopefully they'll improve it and come back next year, because there is that gap in the market. As I said, there was that demand for that live investigation scenario, and it was watched by a lot of people.
It was. Over the 5 nights, Celebrity Haunted Hotel Live drew in over 1 million viewers. Now, that's a lot of people watching that show. People want to see it. They want to watch paranormal investigations, and they want to see it live. Live keeps it real. Live is on the edge of your seat waiting for something to happen. And it did. Throughout the 5 nights, we had some great things happen on camera and off camera. In fact, my last investigation there, night 5, in the barn area where the stone throwing incident took place a few days earlier, there was a sound of a bucket or a box being thrown in the room, and it is that particular location was renowned for this poltergeist activity. It's called the Poltergeist Shed, and there was definitely something that took place there. And it wasn't a member of the crew. There wasn't someone hiding in there like a runner, a researcher. There was no one else in the barn. There was me. There was who was there? Penny Smith, Craig Revel Horwood, and Richard Arnold, and we were in there calling out and seeing if we can get spirit communication. The REM pod was going off, giving us direct responses to the questions we were asking. And then we suddenly had this huge noise, like a bucket or a box or whatever it was. We didn't even know what it was. But it was great experience. And I do believe that there is a demand for it, like you said. And hopefully, fingers crossed, they recommission the programme and it comes back on and they pick me to be part of it. Now, I am lucky in a sense that the new TV show I'm doing, Help My House Is Haunted, it will be on Really, but Really channel is owned by UK TV, and UK TV are also the commissioners of Help My House Is Haunted. of Celebrity Haunted Hotel Live. So, fingers crossed, I get to do that again at the end of this year with the rest of my teammates. Joe and Big Al and Mickey and Alex and Emily. Yeah. So let's see how that works. Anyway.
That sounds brilliant. Just going back to your new TV programme that you've got coming up, how is the selection process going for the cases that you're going to be investigating on that?
Well, at the moment, Back to Back Productions, which is one of the production companies that are producing this programme, is My Entertainment from the United States and Back to Back over here. They're currently asking for anybody that's experiencing intense paranormal activity in their homes and they need help. And essentially that's the idea of the program, is to help those people that need the support to kind of regain control and take control back of their lives and their houses. Zach, is as adamant that we want shows that are going to be as exciting as possible, in terms of the experiences that people have had, like poltergeist phenomena, demonic possession, people that are experiencing hauntings that are intelligent and disruptive and that are really affecting the families involved. So our job is to go in, investigate, gather the tangible evidence that's needed, and then Chris will work with spirit in order to try and move the spirit on. And I know, speaking to Chris, that it's not a matter of saying, spirit, you must leave, and exercising the property. It doesn't work like that. It's about having a relationship and a respect with the spirit so that they understand you and you understand them, and you're explaining and asking them to leave and saying and giving them, showing them there's another option. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he works on a slightly different level, and he's done this for so many years now. I completely trust him implicitly in how he's going to work. My job is, I'm the tech guy. There's three roles really. I'm in charge of the kit and the tech and sort of leading on that. And then you've got Sandy, who's also a bit more spiritually aligned, and she uses dowsing rods and crystals as well as the spirit box and other technology as well. Whereas Chris is an all-rounder, to be honest with you. He is far more experienced than me with the technology and the kit, and actually I'm learning a lot from him. His research has gone a long way. He owns ghostoutlet.com, if you didn't know that. So they supply paranormal equipment around the world as well. In fact, I bought my first K2 meter off him, and I didn't know he owned it, and that was years and years ago. I told him that, and I was like, oh my god, you should have signed it for me. It'd be worth a megabucks now.
Or refund you the money even.
Refund me the money. But yeah, so we all bring to the show new, different dynamics, different kind of experiences, and different abilities, and I think that's really key to making the show successful.
No, I agree. It is very diverse, and being able to experience things we experience, you do need to cover all bases, and to be able, like you said, the paranormal and the spiritual. I not everyone's going to agree, but I do agree because that's the way that we work in a more spiritual level, and also with the scientific or the more equipment based. We think that should marry together, and it works quite well together. So no, that's really exciting. I mean, obviously, there's only so much you can tell us. We'd love to keep your, following your story and keep up to date with you, and have you back on and chat a little bit more about what you're doing. But yeah, is there anything else you want to ask, Kerry?
Where can people find you, Barry? Well, have you got any websites, or where can people connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, to connect with me personally, there's my official Facebook page, which is just Barri Ghai, and search for that. It's a public figure page, and it'd be nice to get some new followers on there. On Twitter, which is @BarriGuy, you can follow me on Twitter. I also have an Instagram page, but I very rarely use it. I think my wife tags me in all her pictures. I've got those of my kids and that kind of thing, because I'm a family man. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Lucy. We have 5 daughters, and we've got twins on the way. And yes, they're 2 girls. So I've got a house full of women. And you can also connect to me via our GPS website, which is www.ghostfinder.co.uk. We have a Facebook page as well that you can follow us on.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And before you go, I know they're coming to an end and we do need to finish, but before you go, I really want to ask you, you sound like a seasoned investigator, and you sound like you've investigated some amazing, fantastic locations. I would love to know, and end it on that note, the best place that you've ever investigated, and some of them, and the experience you had there.
I knew you were going to ask me that one. I can never answer it. There's so many different places. I would say there's 2 places. One is the Hellfire Caves. I've had some amazing experiences there over the years. Everything from seeing things to being touched, having stones thrown, and picking up some brilliant EVP recordings. And also the Ancient Ram Inn, in Gloucestershire. A lot of people have mixed feelings about this place, but every time I go there, I experience amazing, intense activity. It's almost like they know me. And REM pods going off, loud bangs, people being pulled off chairs, seeing light anomalies. So there's some brilliant places around, but those 2 sort of stick out in my mind as being my most best places to go.
And anywhere out of the UK?
Outside
of the UK, yeah.
Let me think. I would say the Queen Mary docked in LA. That's a fantastic place, very, very spooky and atmospheric. If you go to Los Angeles, I've been lucky enough to go. I did my ghost story out there, and I had a chance to visit, and it's a brilliant, brilliant location.
That one's on my list. I'm gonna just put that one out there. I'd love to do that one.
Yeah. So next time you're going, Barry, Just let Kerry know.
Fit
All
us
right.
in your suitcase.
Yeah, we'll come. Both Kerrys can tag along, no worries.
Kerry
That sounds like perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing your paranormal life with us, and all the best with your new beginnings, and wish you all the best, and hopefully we'll be seeing you in October as well.
Yeah.
On the next live sesh. But keep us updated on things that you're doing. We'd love to keep in touch and keep all our listeners updated with what you've got coming up. Barri has told everyone where you can find him on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So if you want to get involved, and if there's any as well, if your home is haunted and you'd like to have more information about how to get involved with the new series coming up, then it's, as you say, back to back.
I think all they need to do is email the production team. I think the email address is haunted@backtoback.tv. But they have a Twitter page, so it's Back to Back Productions on Twitter, and then they can message them directly and send their cases through for consideration for this series or next.
Brilliant, thank you. So we're going to end it there. I'm going to say good night to everyone. Thank you so much, Kerry, for joining me again on Seventh Sanctum, and thank you, Barri, for allowing us to chat with you tonight.
Thank you. You are very welcome.
Thank you. Good night.
And good night.
Good night, everyone.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.